Okay, in this video what I want to do is I want to look a little bit more at sketching and how we can set up different sketching relationships. Now what you'll see with our model trees, here we've got our extrude here and then our extrude cut. What if we want to go back in time? How does this history part work? Well, really simply, you've got this dark blue line at the bottom of your model tree, and if you just drag that up, say one step, you see that the cut extrude disappears, it's greyed out, so you've kind of gone back in time. That's your history, and your history is set down the bottom here. Okay, so we can just drag this up here, and we take ourselves back in time, and none of these features exist. Now remember, with your parent-child relationship, if you do something now, I guess back in the past, and then you drag this bar down, then you might have some sort of effects with that. You know, it might upset what comes next. Okay, so just keep an eye on that, is where you put this bar for your history. Okay, right, so I'm going to set it back to here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this top plane, go to Sketch, and line it up. So line it up to normal so I can see what I'm going to sketch. Okay, so in this example, maybe I will sketch something like a teacup. Okay, a little bit rough, but how would I actually go about doing that? Well, here's my origin, my center point. And we've got obviously our lines, we've got rectangles, we've got straight slots, and we've got a spline. Now a spline is a curve, but it doesn't have a center point. It doesn't have a like an arc or a circle. Okay, so it's just a line that curves around, and it's controlled by these points. Okay, and we keep going until we draw our line. Okay, so have a play with that. Now how did I end that line? Just so I'll show you, I'm going to do it again. So you're drawing your line, you're drawing your curve, whatever it is, and how do you end it? To end it, the quickest way, the way I always use, is right click at the end, just go to select, so go back to that select button there, and that will end your line, okay? Once you've got a line, you can click on it, and each of these items, each of these points, you can drag and move. So you see you can drag and move them. And they've got these handles, these drag handles. So click on a point, move it around, click on a drag handle, drag out that one way, and you'll see that how it affects the rest of that curve. Okay, it's constrained by that point, so let's click on that point. Let's use our drag handles to drag around. Oh, I've done something a little bit crazy, but you get the idea of how we can drag and move these around. Now, if I actually click on the line itself and not on those points, I can move things around. So don't be afraid to move things around in your sketch window. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that. So I've selected it, I just hit the delete key on my keyboard and select this one. I'm going to hit the delete key as well. Okay, so if I want to draw this teacup, I'm just going to go for my my spline initially. I'm going to draw one point here, point here. I'm going to snap to the middle bit because that's where I want the middle bit to be. Now I've got a few different options here. I could just draw the other side, or I could exit my sketch. So exit that last point, that middle bit. You can see that I've got that little green coincident in the middle. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so we can see that. So I've got a little green coincident icon there. So it means that it is in line with that point. It's actually on our origin point there. You see here, I've got this option to mirror entities about a center line. Okay, right, so I've got some entities. That's my entity. Do I have a center line? Well, I could probably use this sketch plane here. Or just for safety, I could put one in. So you see on all of your tools, you've got this little drop down arrow next to all of them. Drop down a new line and go to center line. Let's just draw a center line along there. Right click, select to exit that. I've got a center line now. I definitely know I've got everything set up. So let's go to mirror entities. And it says here, entities to mirror. Normally, whenever you click on a tool, it always asks you for something. You need to have something selected. And normally those blue boxes on the left-hand side tell you what you need to select first. So this says entities to mirror. So I'm going to mirror this entity here. The next box here, copy. So I want to copy it. Yeah, that's fine. Mirror about. Now what do I want to mirror about? Well, we've got that center line. Everybody asked us for that. So I'm going to click on that blue box, and then I'm going to click on my center line that I just drew. And you can see that in yellow it's created the other half of that element. So I'm going to click the tick and accept that. And all of a sudden, I've got the other half of my teacup shape here that I started to create. But you will also notice I've got lots more references. I've got all these green dots appearing everywhere. And again, these are the relationships between one side and the other side. Okay, so because we've mirrored it across, this side now has a relationship to the other side. So much so that if I move one side, the other side will still move. Now we've got to think something. We've got something quite important that I want to introduce you to now, and that's the notion of tangency. Okay, I'm just going to leave that where it is for now, and I'm just going to move just to the side over here because I want to show you what tangency is and why this is important. Okay, so tangency is the relationship between two lines and whether or not you get a smooth curve or a jaggedy edge. Okay, so if I create a line, so I'm going to draw a line. Now you notice when you draw a line it can snap to things, so it can snap to being vertical or horizontal, vertical up here, or horizontal. So if I just draw my line to start with, I'm going to right click, select it in that line, and now I'm going to draw a circle. Should I draw a circle? Maybe I'll draw a bit of an arc. I'm going to do a 3-point arc. Okay, so I'm going to click this end here and I'm going to start drawing my arc. So I want it something like that. That'll be fine. Select to get off that. Okay. Right, so I've got this line and I've got my arc. Now you see at this point here, they are not what's known as tangent. Okay, so the two, at this point here, this line is travelling in one direction, so it's travelling all the way down here. And our straight line is travelling off in that direction. Now having them travelling in two directions may be what we want, and maybe that's the effect that we're going for. We want this kind of harsh edge. But I would actually say that what we probably want in this case is maybe tangency. So tangency is where both lines are travelling in the same direction at the same time. Okay, so how do we achieve that? How do we get into all of these relationships? We can display our relationships up here. But if I just click this line, hold down Control, and click my second line, Solidworks knows that we might want to be looking at the relationships. Actually, down here it says Add Relationships because what we've done is we've clicked two lines which are connected in some way, and it's quite obvious that there might be some relationship required between them. So if I click Add Relationship Tangent, what you'll notice, it will change the shape slightly, but you notice how this arc is now blending nice and cleanly into this straight line. And that is tangency. And tangency is fundamental and really important to learn. Okay, so I'm going to click the tick to accept that. If I zoom in, what you'll notice is that little icon, and there's a little icon of a circle with a line on top of it, and that just means tangency. So for example, if I've got a little circle here, coming up that line, something like that, okay? The moment they're not connected, they're not tangent to each other, because at this point here, the circle's travelling over here, and you can see the line, they're not together. Okay, let's select them both. Click 1, Control click, click 2. What do we want to do? Add relationship, tangency. You see this is actually what the icon is, and you can see that at that point, this circle and this line are travelling in the same direction. So as you start to sketch things, what you'll notice is you'll start to build up all these relationships, these green squares. And that's great, but sometimes we don't want it. For example, now, if I try and move my circle, you see that it's permanently stuck to that line. And it's permanently stuck because we've got the tangency relationship between the two. Okay, so how do we get rid of that tangency relationship? We can click it, hover over it, click it again, select it, and hit delete. So just have a practice with that, have a play around. What I did is I clicked it again, it was kind of highlighted, and then I hit delete to get rid of it. Now you see when I move this around, from the centre, not thinking there, move this around, you can see that there is no relationship. So this circle has no relationships to anything else in my drawing at all. Yeah? I could add a relationship with a dimension, so say from that centre to that line and click on the outside. So if I put that under 7, I've now started to create a relationship. So you see now that these two are related to each other. So if I move this around, oops, if I move this around, see I can only move it at 7. I don't know if that's quite clear. I hope that's kind of displaying. But anyway, those two are now in relationship with each other. Okay, so this is really important, how we build up sketches. So we've got a number of different tools. We've got lines, we've got polygons, we've got arcs, and we've got splines. If you want to edit this spline, you click on it and you see that you can edit the curve here. Yeah? We might want to add tangency to the centre so that it's a flowing curve. It's kind of like the base of the cup. Now, to extrude anything, as I said, we need to make sure it is effectively watertight. Okay, so if you want to extrude something, make sure you join up those dots so you create a single contained volume. Click the tick to accept that. Go and select, and you can see that that is now a contained volume that we could extrude. We've got these random bits here. We can't have just random bits just lying around. If we want to delete entities, we can delete anything. There's a little tool here called Trim Entities. Click on that. Basically, little option here, Power Trim. That just means drag over it with this line. Anything under that line gets deleted. So I can just drag over that there and delete everything I want. See, I can just drag over this bit here, and you see it's intersecting between that point and this line here. Means I only just delete that little section there. I'm going to just undo that. Okay. So when we're building up things, we can use our dimensions to make sure we've got the correct dimension. That one would be 60, for example. We want to look at our relationships with other components, other lines, other sketches, and we also want to delete particular segments. You can just use lines to delete other lines, or to set up areas for deletion. For example, if I wanted to cut a little hole out the bottom here, I might just draw a line like that, select. Might just then draw another line like that, for example. Right click select. Once that's done, it's broken up this line. It hasn't actually broken it yet, but it will in a second. Okay. If I now use my power trim, go to Trim Entities, Power Trim at the top, click and drag. So I'm clicking and drag to delete that one. I can delete that section now, and I can delete that, that, and that. Okay. Maybe that's a really quick way of deleting a little segment you don't need. Just going to undo that. So we go back. Okay, so once we've created our volume, we can accept that. I guess the last thing, I'll just show you one more feature before we move on. This is quite a long video already, and that is offset entities. What does that do? Well, we've got a line here, so we've got this shape here. What if we wanted to create something very similar that's just a little offset? Click on the offset entities, give us some options here, and basically we can click on those lines. It realises it's an enclosed volume, so it says chain select on here. We can set the thickness, so maybe just set that to 2 millimeters or something like that. And what you'll see is it's created, just basically copied and pasted and expanded that line section that we've got. If you have a hole or something like this, where you've got an outside border and basically an inside border, when we go to extrude, what we'll only end up doing is extruding this middle bit here. So I'll just show you that. So if I exit the sketch, I'm happy with that now, exit the sketch, I'm going to go Features, Extrude, click on that sketch, middle scroll buttons to move around, you will see that I am now just extruding that element there. Yeah? I hope that makes sense, okay? Set your extrusion, etc., and click OK. Okay, so there's a little bit more information on sketches, hopefully that's useful. Thank you very much.